First, let's start with this case. A few months ago, my 25-year-old younger sister asked if she could take my daughter for the weekend. I agreed and dropped my daughter off at my mom's apartment where my sister currently lives. At the time, I had recently found out my sister had started dating someone new. Before leaving, I asked my sister what she had planned for the weekend. It was about a week before Halloween, and she said she'd take my daughter to pick out a costume, hang out at the park, and have lunch with my mom. These were all normal activities for them, so I said it sounded fine. However, before I left, my sister asked me what time I planned to pick up my daughter the next day. This stood out to me because she doesn't usually ask. I asked if she needed me to come at a specific time, and she said no, but mentioned she had plans that my daughter could be included in. I started to get a bad feeling, so I asked her directly if her plans involved her boyfriend. She admitted they did, but assured me my mom would be coming along because her boyfriend had invited them to dinner. I immediately told her that if she planned to meet up with her boyfriend, I'd prefer for my daughter to stay with my mom instead. I explained that I wasn't comfortable with my daughter meeting someone I didn't know yet. My sister seemed a little annoyed, but ultimately agreed not to introduce my daughter to her boyfriend. I thought we were on the same page, but she didn't respect my boundaries. That same night, despite our conversation, my sister had her boyfriend over at my mom's apartment for a few hours. She never mentioned this to me. I only found out because my daughter accidentally told me later. She let it slip that her aunt's boyfriend had given her flowers, and she seemed worried she was in trouble for telling me. I immediately asked my mom about it, and she admitted he had been there, saying, "Oh yeah, he came over for a bit." My mom didn't understand why it was an issue, so I explained that it was about safety. I didn't want my child around someone I hadn't met yet, especially without my knowledge or consent. I also confronted my sister, but she has refused to have a proper conversation about it. She hasn't explained herself or apologized for going against my wishes, and I'm left feeling disrespected and frustrated. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. You were willing to accommodate whatever time frame was needed to keep your child from being introduced to the boyfriend. While I don't personally see harm in the BF briefly meeting your daughter, it's still your choice. Period. Especially if you're flexible enough to work around their plans. Everyone sucks. She should respect your boundaries, but you're being ridiculous. Either you trust your mom and sister to take good care of your kid, or you don't. Would you be pissed if your mom ran into a friend at the store and introduced your daughter? Would you be mad if your daughter played with Gasp, a strange child at the park, and interacted with that kid's parents? Preschool? What are you going to do at kinder next year? Forbid her from talking to the lunch ladies and the gym coach until you've met them? Unless you have reason to be suspicious of this dude, or reason to think your sister is leaving your daughter alone with him, you need to wake up and realize that you don't get to control every single person your kid interacts with, unless you are the person with your kid 24/7. While bringing the BF around against your wishes is a big deal, telling your daughter not to tell you is the bigger issue. Teaching your daughter to lie to you is definitely not cool. Either one of these things alone is enough to never trust your sister or mother with your daughter again. They obviously have no respect for you and will disregard any boundaries you set. They will do whatever they please and then just tell your daughter to lie to you about it. Next up, I'm a 45-year-old woman and I have a good friend, a 41-year-old woman, coming to visit me for a week. I typically stay up much later than she does, and I work from home. My home office is located next to the guest room where she'll be staying. Before her visit, she called me to talk about something and said that I'm way too loud at night when she's trying to sleep. She then asked if I could work in a different room during her stay. To clarify, I'm not blasting music or playing loud video games late at night. My work involves typing on my laptop, occasionally printing a document, and sometimes making a quiet phone call. I keep my phone on the lowest volume setting, so when it rings, it's barely audible, and I already make an effort to talk quietly on calls when I have guests. I feel like her request to change my entire routine for her visit is a bit much. I told her I'd do my best to keep the noise down, but apparently that wasn't good enough for her. She seems to want me to completely uproot my work setup for the week, and I think it's unreasonable given the minimal noise I already make. I feel like her demanding attitude is rude, especially since I'm already accommodating her by hosting her for the week. Again, I'm not being disruptive. I'm just doing my job quietly in a separate room. Am I the idiot for telling her I'll try to keep the noise down, but not making any promises, even though she says that isn't good enough? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. I would tell her maybe it's better if she stayed in a hotel, as you won't be able to be as quiet as she would like you to be because of your work schedule. Who are these people that stay in people's homes and have all these demands? What 41-year-old goes to bed at 8 p.m.? Sounds like something my great-grandmother would have done. Okay, I get it. People who have to get up early for work. Since the guest will be on her vacation, asking for OP to be quiet is a bit extra to me. I would just wear earplugs. I'm a pretty light sleeper and around your friend's age. A phone ringing or a person talking on the phone would keep me up at night, which in turn would make the trip miserable, as I'm at the age where if I miss sleep the next day isn't great. I don't think you are an idiot, but I don't think your friend is either. You don't have to accommodate her request, but you need to accept the fact that this might make her visit untenable, because she either needs to pay for accommodations or be sleep-deprived. No one is in the wrong, provides you both accept each other's positions. Next up, I have been dating my boyfriend, 29M, for a little over a year. We met through mutual friends, hit it off right away, and our relationship has been great, except for this one issue. My boyfriend was born in Poland to Polish parents but attended international schools growing up. He's been living in the U.S. for the past 8 years, so he speaks English like a native speaker and typically only speaks Polish around his parents or family. I haven't met his parents yet because they still live in Poland, and my demanding job made it hard to visit. Recently, I got a promotion, which means more vacation days, so we decided to visit Poland for 2 to 3 weeks around Christmas. I've been really excited to meet his family and see the country he grew up in. Here's where the issue arose. My boyfriend asked me to start learning Polish so I could communicate with his family. I understand why he'd ask and don't have an issue with the idea itself, but for several reasons, it's just not feasible right now. I told him no and he seemed confused and asked why. I explained, "We're leaving for Poland on December 19th, which is in 2 weeks. There's no way I can learn a new language in that time, especially one as difficult as Polish. I currently have a lot of work to finish before the holidays, so my time is very limited. My company has already asked me to learn Italian for professional reasons, and I'm actively studying it. Starting another language now would likely cause confusion and slow down my progress." I told him I'd be happy to learn some basic words and phrases, but realistically, I won't be able to communicate fluently in Polish in 2 weeks. For context, his parents speak English fairly well, as do some of his other family members. I also suggested that he could translate for us if needed, but he said he doesn't want to. He got angry and accused me of being disrespectful to his family and not making an effort to understand his culture. He went on a rant about how Americans don't make an effort to speak other languages. I speak 3 languages fluently and am learning a 4th for the record. He even suggested that I should stay home and not come with him for the holidays. I feel stuck. I understand his perspective and want to make an effort, but what he's asking for just isn't doable in this time frame. Am I in the wrong here? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. And why do I get the sense he's intentionally bombing this trip? Like he's not an idiot, right? He knows you can't learn a language in 2 weeks while also learning a different language during a busy work period, especially when his parents speak English and you've only been dating a year. It's weird. Even if you tried, even if you had nothing else to focus on, no Italian and no job, I sincerely doubt you would be able to get more than basic phrases in the time you have. They speak English. You speak English. You cannot become conversational in a whole new language in 2 weeks. IDK what kind of miracles he's expecting of you, but he is indeed being unreasonable. And speaking of not trying hard enough, how about asking you sooner? How about trying to teach you? How about not springing this on you the same month he expects you to be conversing in Polish? You're not in the wrong. Time to reconsider going to visit Poland with him. And maybe more. Next up, my husband and his sister have a long-standing tradition of buying their mom gifts together. In reality, this means she picks the gifts, my husband pays for them, and the gifts are presented as being from both of them. She doesn't contribute financially at all. Since we got married, this tradition now includes me and her boyfriend, meaning the gifts are presented as being from all four of us, even though my husband and I foot the bill. I've expressed to my husband that I want to be involved in choosing the gifts, especially because we're on a tight budget. We recently paid for our wedding entirely on our own, and we're expecting a baby. I also suggested that his sister start contributing financially if the gifts are to remain joint, or that we each buy separate gifts for his mom. My husband agreed and suggested we buy our own gift for his mom this Christmas. I've been shopping for weeks to find the perfect budget-friendly gift for her. But last night I found out that his sister texted him, saying she wanted to buy their mom expensive Lululemon clothes for Christmas, and he agreed without consulting me. I'm frustrated because his sister, who is 30 years old, makes good money as a nurse and spends on luxuries for herself, but refuses to spend on gifts for her mom or brother. She also hasn't bought anything for our baby on the way. I confronted my husband and asked why we're always the ones paying for gifts, yet I don't get a say in what we buy. I also pointed out how unfair it feels that we consistently buy gifts for them, but they never give us anything in return. My husband acknowledged that his sister is taking advantage of him, but said I'm overreacting and being petty for being upset. He added that they're his mom and sister, and because she's his baby sister, she's always been spoiled, and he doesn't care. Am I in the wrong for being upset about this situation? First, thank you for all the advice and support. After reading your comments, I had a conversation with my husband using many of your suggestions. Initially, he didn't take it well and struggled to understand why I was upset. However, he said he couldn't stand seeing me so stressed, especially since it might affect my health and the baby. He apologized to me and texted his sister, in a group chat with me included, asking her to return one of the items and split the remaining $300 cost evenly. She replied with a thumbs up, but didn't say anything else. He also promised that this will be the last time we buy a joint gift with her, unless I'm involved in the discussion and agree to it. I guess we'll see if he keeps his word when New Year's and Mother's Day roll around. Additionally, I told him I'd be moving 25% of my income into my personal account to save for our family. He was fine with this and said he'd continue putting 100% of his income into the joint account for our expenses. He assured me that if we fall short, we'll figure it out together. He said he hopes these changes show me that he truly cares about me and our baby, and that we are his priority. Honestly, I'm feeling conflicted. On the surface, I got what I wanted, but I'm not sure the deeper issue is resolved. He still doesn't fully understand why this upset me and just wants to make peace. Second update, we had a deeper conversation today, and I understand his perspective better now. He shared that after his dad passed away, he naturally took on a caretaker role, and for a long time his mom and sister were his entire world. He acknowledged the challenges we're facing now and asked for patience as his family adjusts to this shift, where I and our baby are his priority. He admitted he handled this situation poorly. He said he wasn't thinking much about the financial impact and assumed I'd be okay with skipping the stress of shopping for his mom, who he knows I'm not fond of. He's also more optimistic about our financial situation than I am. He believes our current struggles are temporary and that he'll find a way to provide once the baby arrives. Our current budget factors in the risk of him not finding a new contract after his current one expires in February, but he doesn't think that will happen. This is what he meant when he said I was overreacting.